Yo, what's good? It's Bear in the building. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Kueen Talk. If you are new here, welcome. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this episode. Y'all, we got another very special guest here. We got Brailin with us. Brailin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Bear?
Good. Thank you for being on Kueen Talk today. How's it looking over there in Texas? Braylin's from Texas.
It's hot. Like I
Eh,
don't even want to go outside today.
Brailin, it's hot in Kansas too. Like it's so high. The index was 101 yesterday, and my cousins, we had a family reunion, and when they came down here, they were shocked at how hot it was here. But they did say it was hotter
Yeah,
in Texas.
yeah. The
It's
humidity it's a little bit more. You feel like you in a seafood boil. Like that's how
yeah.
hot it is.
Have you born and raised in Texas, or you
So I'm
moved there?
originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I moved here back in the end of the summer of 2021. I've been here for almost 4 years.
What took you to Texas from Ohio?
The weather, I had
So you went there to the heat. You wanted to get some heat.
yeah. But I didn't know it was this bad. Like I knew of the bugs, I knew it was gonna be hot, tropical type weather, but not this humid. But it's 6 months of winter in Ohio, northeastern Ohio, so I'll take this over that.
Oh yeah, true. And those winters, they get bad. Like
Brutal.
it's not your typical just little fluffy snow. It's pretty
Mm-mm.
bad there. So literally the weather, you looked on the map and you're like, where can I go that it's not 6 months of
Yeah.
winter?
Originally it was Florida, but it was too expensive. So ended up here in Texas, because that's just where, well, I moved here with at the time was my wife, but that's where we ended up. Just down here in Texas for the weather, the job opportunities, the culture. It's like a great culture down here, specifically in Houston stuff.
Yeah. So you in Ohio, what was the
hmm
culture like growing up in Ohio?
So I grew up in the suburbs of it's like a city called Twinsburg, Ohio. It's like the outskirts city of Cleveland, and it was some white people, but it was also like a mixed culture of people at the same time. And it didn't feel, definitely doesn't feel like how it is living out here in Houston. It was more bland, if that makes sense. Like not too much was going on. So, which is a good
So
thing and a bad thing.
yeah, did you feel like it was predominantly white though? I asked because I need
hmm
perspective. So I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
a perspective of Wichita, Kansas, of where I'm at right now. So
hmm
say I go to a restaurant, there might be one table of black people other than like me coming into the restaurant. It depends on if you go to the north side, you're looking at something different. But like
hmm
on a regular in the old town, downtown, west side, east side. That's
Yeah.
like what you're looking like. What about for you in like in Ohio area? What was that like?
So Twinsburg specifically, it's more white predominantly, but if you go to like downtown Cleveland, then it's more of a mixed culture. So,
Okay.
but I didn't live like downtown. I was always like on the outskirts in the suburbs. So I also lived in Akron for a time, and that was predominantly black. But that's like where LeBron James is from. So
Okay.
yeah, that's like a predominantly black town. But we moved to a more suburban town once I was like around the age of 10. So grew up mostly around white people.
Ha, and how has that shaped you? How has that shaped you? Because now you're in Houston. So like, how do you feel like that has shaped you as you've grown?
Um, Living in the suburbs, honestly, it shaped me in a way of like knowing that there's like good areas to live. Like I didn't grow up in the slums. My parents they really did really well for themselves. So growing up in that uptight, like not uptight, like tidy environment, it shaped me to want to strive to stay in that. So I like constantly try to do things to build myself up and not go backwards. So I feel like it shaped me in that way. Not doing stuff I'm not supposed to out in the streets and everything. So that's how I feel it shaped me.
Yeah, growing up, predominantly around white people for me specifically. I like got an image of black people that rubbed off on me like from them and like what I grew up around. And
Hmm.
so like when I got out of that space and moved into now like like Wichita is more diverse for sure than
Yeah.
what El Dorado was. It made me see that like I was like had these biases and like towards my own people
Yeah.
because of like how I was raised. Do you feel like that was a case for you of seeing that?
In a way, because I didn't grow up around like I hate to say it like ghetto black people. Like so when I got a taste of that, like moving out of my parents' house and not living in the best area because not on my parents' time anymore. I had to learn how to make better money and so on and so forth. So I lived in a little bit of a ghetto area and I carry myself in a certain stature to where people look at me, it's like you forget you black. It's like, but there's different levels to blackness. Like, I don't have to, you know, sag my pants or be loud and obnoxious to be black. It's like, that's the type of people that, you know, I had a bias towards, like you're saying, because it's like, we don't have to act like this. Like,
Yeah,
we don't have to
yeah,
be this way. So, like, I hate that I have that bias in a way, but I know that it's just the environment that they grew up.
right. Yeah,
So,
it's two completely up different upbringings,
yeah,
and yeah, I agree. I'm like, we can do better. Like we can do better,
yeah,
but it's like we know different. They
yeah,
they some of them know different.
yeah.
Um and it's like getting that representation. Like I don't know, it does make a world of a difference. I sometimes I'm like, man, why did my family raise me in this small town when Wichita was just 30 minutes away? Like we could have commuted and
Been more
I could,
around diverse people.
yeah. And then like at the same time, like I I can like it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, because it's like I could have had a whole different upbringing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful also just like of getting that sense of it was sense of a privilege
Hmm.
as to where I was raised at. So
Yeah.
I go back and forth with that, but I am grateful of where I
Yeah.
was raised to.
Because it's like the way that I operate now. I've been told I'm a hard worker. Now I'm not trying to like gas myself up too much, but it's
Hey,
just
gas
like,
yourself up,
yeah.
Brailin. Gas yourself up.
It's just like the way that I was brought up in that environment through my parents and seeing my mom struggle and now she's like about to be a nurse practitioner, you know, it's like empowering and like I know that none of this stuff is gonna be handed to me. I have to go out there and get it. So that type of mindset, that type of mentality growing up with, it shaped me as an adult. It's like that's just who I am. But in Texas, Houston, Texas specifically, with it being diverse, there's a lot of affluent black people down here. Like I see black people running too. I mean, I can remember back in the day when I'd be like, "Oh, that's some white people stuff," but it's like I run now myself. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's so true. You do think like, yeah, that's on WPS, but then it's like,
yeah,
nah. So it just depends on where you're at. It really
yeah,
just depends on where you're at. I think a lot of people from like my town specifically, like it's when you go other places, they do like, oh, you act white. I don't act white.
love. I'm
I'm
just
not.
me.
I'm just me, yo. Like,
Yeah,
there's just some things that it's like I was raised differently. So like
yeah,
the country, like I'm not like a camper or anything like that, but I mean, like
mhm,
I've done it. Like it's just some things are just like
yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I get what you're saying with that one. So how has Houston been so far? You're there for
I love
5
it.
years now, so
Yeah, I love it. Like the culture. I didn't think that I would ever buy a pair of cowboy boots or a cowboy hat, but I got them both now. Because my dad was like, "Oh, you going?" Like the first year I moved down, he's like, "You gonna buy a cowboy hat?" I was like, "No, I ain't. No, I ain't country." And then I put it on for the one time. I started getting compliments. I was like, "This is my party hat now. This is this is that swag." So
Love that.
yeah, so that, like the people, everybody's so super nice down here. Like I thought, moving to Texas in general, I would get a lot of hate and stuff like that, but I haven't experienced anything. If you're a nice person, you're open and you just, I guess, lively, people are gonna naturally gravitate to you and be nice in general back. The only negative interactions I get is when I'm driving through traffic because they drive like NASCAR races down here. So
Yeah, the traffic is crazy there. It
yeah,
is.
it's terrible.
I it's yeah, we got a 3 lane here, so it's nothing
No, we got
compared.
10.
It
And
is
people,
nothing.
it still be back to back, bumper to bumper traffic with 10 lanes. Like,
Yeah,
it's terrible.
that is
So,
wild. You keep mentioning culture and stuff like that. But I'm curious, like the queer scene in where you're at around you. How's that looking?
so in Houston, we actually have a neighborhood. They call it the neighborhood in Montrose.
Okay, I've
So,
heard of these neighborhoods like in it. That someone's mentioned it in like another part of Texas. So
yeah,
every big city in Texas must just have
how's
like a
their own little neighborhood? I feel like almost every city in the country has their like neighborhood, like San Francisco in California. I think Key West in Florida is like the neighborhood, or there could be even more places in Florida, but yeah. So at least in Houston, Texas, the neighborhood is Montrose, and when I go out there every weekend, it's very lively. That's like the only time or part of the city where I have a good time. So anywhere else that I try to go to, it's dead.
Is it now when it comes to race and queer? Is it pretty diverse in Houston, or is it predominantly white,
I would say
predominantly
it's
black,
pretty
or
pretty diverse. Depending on like what area you're at or who you're seeking. But from the experience because I haven't really been out too much into like recently, but so far it seems diverse.
okay, that's good. I know, like I said before we started, it's like when you go out, the queer scene here is pretty, which the entertainers are not though. I will say that. Like the entertainer wise, like it's diverse. But
Yeah,
when they like go to the shows, it's different.
yeah,
Um
exactly.
what we didn't even like get into like how you identify in the community. So will you let the audience know,
Yeah,
please?
so pronouns are he, him. I am a trans man. That's pretty much it. Like if you want to go into sexuality wise, I'm only attracted to women. All my life, honestly. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So, how was your dating life? You said that you came to Houston, Texas,
Married,
married.
yes.
So, are you
So
divorced? Or are you still with?
we've been separated for almost a year at this point. It'll be a year, actually next month. So not divorced yet, but separated and staying separated. But dating so far, and Houston it's a terrible dating scene, no matter if you're straight or queer. Like it doesn't matter. So the dating scene has been rough. And I've kind of just learned to, when I go out, just go out to have a good time. Don't go out to seek women. Because
Mhm.
when I switch to that perspective or that mindset, people or women come up to me. Like I'm just going out having a good time, and they ask me for my Instagram. I stop asking for numbers, stop asking for your social media, because every time I do that and I try to like take it further from there, I get burned. So because
Mhm.
they like lose interest, I feel like. So I just go out there, have a good time. They ask me for my information, and then it goes further than that. So
Yeah, and like you just separated for a year. I
yeah,
could understand. So
I'm
probably
still
just now,
fresh.
yeah, getting out there in the scene. How long
Yeah.
were you? How long were you with your previous partner?
So we got married in 2021. So we're still technically married. So it's almost about 4 years of being
Okay.
in that marriage. So yeah, but we were together since 2018.
Now I gotta ask, like,
Yeah.
why the separation? Like, just wasn't feeling each other anymore? Or?
So money, like I grew up middle class, like I mentioned, and she grew up poor. So, you know, I'm like 20, I'm about to be 25 next month, but we've been young our whole entire relationship. When you go through the stages of, okay, I need to go to college, or if I don't go to college, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know, you finding your way through your life, and then you're growing as a couple, and we never really made great money, but I've always held it down in terms of like making sure the bills were paid, making sure food was put on the table and stuff like that. But we weren't able to go on a lot of dates. We weren't able to travel as much. I wasn't able to buy her the things that she wanted, which sucks, especially as a man. You know, you want to provide in every way, you know. So I think the years going by, you know, her not being able to get the things that she wanted, you know, her growing up poor on top of that. She was like, when is it ever going to end? And I think social media also kind of had her mind effed up. I don't want to curse her name. You know, I think it had her mind messed up because she felt like, well, all these 20 somethings are already making 100K plus a year. What the hell are you doing? It's like, that's not normal. It's like where we're at now is normal. As long as we keep working hard and keep building, I have proof. My parents are the proof. You're going to make it. You know, you just have to continue to put in that work. And I told her like just stick with me and grow with me and I'll make sure that happens. But she just wasn't there for it. And, you know, I hate to say it, but she did also step out on the marriage. So it's like that was kind of like after that, I was like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just cut it. So that's kind of what happened.
Oh, just was she working or anything like that too? Or
Not really. Like wouldn't really she wasn't really holding down a job to save her life. And I hate to say bad things about her, but because we're cordial now, but it's just that's the truth. Like she wouldn't hold a job down a job for anything. So
okay, that's that's unfortunate. It's like you want to build, you want to grow together.
yeah,
But your perspective, you mentioned just like, yeah, you want to be the man of the house and the provider as well. Like is that your perspective? Like you want to fit those gender roles like in your
yeah. Like
relationship? Or?
I want to be a provider, but at the same time, with especially where we're at age wise, it makes sense to have two incomes. And I grew up with both my parents working, so naturally I want the wife or the person that I'm with to be working as well. You know, if I'm making great money, you know, if you want to go part time or have like a side hustle and not really work too much full time, I'm cool with that. But I want you to be providing something to the marriage, you know, and I don't care if all your money is just used just to spend on yourself and I'm just putting money into the household, but I want you to be providing something so it's not a burden on my back because there was times where I lost my job. You know, COVID happened and I lost my job back in 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022, I lost my job and I did get a job for 4 months. And usually, when you have two incomes come in the house, it's like, okay, my partner lost his job, but I'm as a wife, I'm still gonna be able to hold it down at least until
Right.
you get your job. But every time she lost her job, it was always on the shoulder, the burden was on my back. So when that happened and no income was coming in the house, she's kind of looking at me like, what you gonna do? You know, you the man of
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a hard pill
It's
to
a
swallow.
partnership. It's a
Yeah,
partnership for sure. Everything that you're saying, brother, I personally I validate.
thank you.
I validate with you. I think it's important because, especially today's economy, like
Yeah,
it's really hard out here. You mentioned another thing of just like people's idea of reality versus what they're seeing on social media. Like
yeah,
social media scrolling, yeah, like there are a lot of people out here making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, like
yeah.
people are like, for you to think people, oh, like quit your 9 to 5 and start doing that. Like, no, like there's
No.
people. I just had Forrest, who is a part of Gay Magazine. You look at her
Mhm.
social media and you think, oh, like she doesn't have to work a 9 to 5. She is still working a 9 to 5 and still
Yeah,
being able to like live out her dreams too. Like it's not there yet. It'll get there, like you said. It'll
yeah,
get there. And as long as you're striving and growing to make that happen, I think that's the important thing. As long as you're
yeah.
not sitting there waiting for it to come, like, and you're
Which
actually
is what I
chasing it.
think. I was just what I think she was waiting on through me. Like she wanted me to do everything, and she's you know how a lot of women are, oh, I don't want a man that just wants 50-50. I don't want 50-50. You know, I've had no problem paying the bills. I just needed some support. That's it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, and I wasn't like, okay, when she was working, okay, my half of the rent is 500, your half of the rent is 500. Like, no. I'm paying that. And whatever we have left over from you is just strictly savings and spend money, you know. And that's how I treated it. I never made her feel like you gonna have to come off of that. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think all of that, what you said, is so true because I think when you look at like 50-50 versus 75-25, whatever it is, like I think in having that communication, they say like finances are like a big reason for people
For divorce, yeah.
for
And I
divorce.
try to avoid that.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry about your situation, but also like you can't be in that. Like you want a partnership, so
Right.
um, now I'm glad you're out here dating Brailin.
Yeah.
I hope you find something for you and better because
Yeah. I'm
that
taking my sweet time.
yeah. You mentioned being a trans man, and I want to like
Mhm.
talk about that too. When did you start transitioning?
I started February of 2022. So it'll be
Okay.
4 years actually going into the 2026. So.
Okay, so you were already married and with your partner, and then
Mhm.
was it a discussion beforehand? Like you already had been like
So
talking about it, or
that was like one part of the marriage where I feel like I dropped the ball because I came from a household where it wasn't like it wasn't like they were gonna kick me out because I was already out as at least like a lesbian in my household. But growing up, like I want to say between the ages of 10 and 12, I started to discover that I was possibly like a man or a boy at the time, if you will, you know, and I had brought up a little bit of it to my mom, like, oh, kind of testing the waters, like, how do you feel about trans people? And
at
she
the age of
basically,
12?
yeah, because I was just like kind of going through the motions around that time. And she basically was just like, they are, in better words, like psychotic. Like, she basically called them crazy. And that was enough for me to go in the depths of the closet and stay there, you know, and just be like, I don't want to be considered crazy. You know, I don't want to be considered psychotic. So, man, fuck it. I'm just not trans. I'm just into girls or I'm into women. So I kind of like went through an identity crisis for 10 plus years after that. And like, it's like, no, I'm not trans. I'm not trans. Like, I'm just, you know, gay. And by the time we were already married, something happened. And like finally, because I had cut my mom off also around this point and she was doing some other things, wasn't really
In
happy.
2021?
Yeah, 2021. So it was like shortly after me and my wife got married, and she was doing some things to the point where I was like, I really have to cut you off. And right when that happened, I did soul searching. I kind of like went in the depths of my mind, got into counseling as well. And it kind of like took to me, it's like, no, I can't really fight it anymore. And I apologized to my wife because I even gave her an out. Because I was like, look, you didn't marry a man, you married a woman. You know, I don't want you to feel like you're trapped. You know, if this is not something that you would be okay with, I would completely understand. And I apologize for even marrying you first without being completely honest with myself and then being honest with you. And, you know, she was like, no, like she's bisexual. So she's like, no, I'm okay with that. You know, I just wish obviously you came to terms before the marriage, but we're here now. I love you. And it was past that. And I think a year later is when I was able to finally get on testosterone after going through counseling and making sure this is who I am and being sound in that decision. So,
So you kind of like briefly discuss like the conversation of like giving them out.
Yeah,
What was that like for you though? Like in that situation?
terrifying, because it's like it felt that she was honestly, she felt like I was lying to her. And I had to, validate her feelings. It's like, if you feel like we were lied to, I'm not going to say, like, no, like, I apologize, because in a way it is kind of like a lie because I was lying to myself.
Mhm.
So I was terrified that I was going to lose her, you know, for essentially like this big fat, like, lie in a way or understanding of myself. So
Mhm.
it was terrifying, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned counseling. So like, I assume like you were in had a therapist during this time to
Mhm.
like help you and guide you through this during
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Good.
I had a therapist and the therapist was awesome. I really wish I still had this therapist. But like yeah, I was in therapy on and off throughout childhood, but I had to get back into it just to for myself, but also to get on testosterone in the first place. You have to have a record that you fucked with someone. So that's another reason why I was in counseling.
Like now moving forward and like in your dating life, has have you thought about like, okay, am I gonna like express I'm a trans man at like from the go? Am I gonna wait? Like, have you thought about that?
So I haven't had to tell women because honestly, even at my job, I don't even tell people that I'm
Hmm.
trans. I'm at a point where I know a lot of people in the trans community don't like the word, but it's called passing, So I am at that point where I don't have to tell people, you know, what I am. I just look like a man. That's how I live my life. But
Yeah.
when I'm at a point where this could be a romantic relationship or a friend, then I tell them like, hey, I am trans if you don't know. And if you're not okay with that, that's okay. People have their preferences, but I don't want to lie to you. So
Yeah.
it hasn't gotten to that point yet with a woman. I kind of just go out and enjoy myself. And if someone's attracted to
As you
me,
should.
uh, yeah, I don't want to be like, oh, by the way, while I'm dancing with them at the club or in public somewhere, I'm
Yeah.
trans, The only
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
time I've done that, because I was dancing at this one club in Montrose, and this one woman I was dancing with, she's like, because it's a gay club, and she was feeling me, and she was like, "Hey, we're in a gay club. Like, are you gay? If you don't mind me asking." And I was like, "No, I'm a trans man." I was tipsy off my ass at that
Yeah.
point, and she was like, So that's why I don't do that. But I was like, all right, anyway, on to the next. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really expose myself unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. I think in today's day, I think it's safer that way.
Hmm.
Also, just protecting yourself and just so that you can like be validated still. I think, like you said, like
Yeah,
passing, people
yeah,
might look at you differently and stuff like if you did state it. So
yeah,
I think it is important.
yeah.
Um, it sounds like you be in the club quite a bit. You say you're in your 20s.
Yeah, I'm about to turn 25 next month, so yeah. Especially since I didn't start clubbing until this year. Like, about to be
Oh,
25, and I've
oh,
never went clubbing. So, like, when I had my first drink, it
why?
was because
Or
I was just locked down in that relationship. It was just like I felt like it would be disrespectful to go out to the club knowing that I'm in a relationship because a lot of people there are
y'all didn't
single.
go out to the club together?
So that's another thing. I have a kid. So
Okay,
yeah, so that's another reason why we never really went out much. That the kid situation, being married as well as being broke. Like it's like I had no business going out in general when I got money. So I this is like the most I've went out in years, like since high school. So I'm
yeah.
really just like really living my true 20s right now.
How
So
old's your kid?
she's 3.
She's 3.
So yeah, I had her, or my wife had her in 2022, like a year after we got married. Like this woman loved her to death at the time, but she kind of like bullied me into marriage and kind of bullied me into having a family early on. Like I love my kid, would die for my kid, but I know that it was not the right time to be having children. But that relationship or that woman, she was really like adamant on wanting to have kids. It's like I don't know why, but that's just how things turned out.
If you're listening to this, if you're watching this podcast right now, do not get pressured into having a
Yes,
kid. Do not get
you'll be
pressured into.
okay.
Yes, that's a big commitment. That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not taking away from you. I got pressured into having a dog to get a dog. So
And
to
don't do
have,
that either.
yeah, to getting
Yeah,
pressure to have a kid,
yeah.
man. So how did
It's
you
like,
guys? How did that come about? Like I didn't even know you had a kid, Braylon.
man, yeah. So, like, she's always wanted kids, and I always wanted, obviously wanted kids too. But I also knew, like, them kids cost money. So, like, I was like, I want to be at a certain point financially before I have our first kid, because I came from middle class. Like, I know how this stuff is supposed to go, and it's like when we moved down here. We were already married, and she was like, "All right, let's go to the next step." And I was like, no." Like we we went through some stuff. Even moving down here was just like a whole other story. But like, we don't got no money, we don't got no furniture. We barely really were into our jobs. Like, let's let the dust settle first before we
Yeah.
move into the next step of having kids. If it's like 2 or 3 years from now, we'll still be in our 20s. Like, we'll be all right. So she was not having that. And she was already looking for donors and everything on Facebook. Like, there's like a group on Facebook where it's like, for donors that you can go and conversate with them and see if they're a trustworthy person to get sperm or get sperm from. And I'm like, well, I always wanted to go to a sperm bank, that is like, they go and run tests on these men and background checks and all that. I don't want to go off of fucking Facebook. Like, we're not getting furniture. This is a baby. So,
We're not getting furniture. Oh my
yeah, like,
gosh.
I go on Facebook Marketplace for furniture, not for sperm.
Yeah.
So, like,
If you didn't
yeah,
know, you could get both.
yeah, there you go. But the, I basically was like putting my foot down in a way, but not fully. I was like, what, 21? Nowadays, I'm like, oh
Jeez.
no, we gonna have to kick rocks, now that I've been through so much and I know better. But I let her push me, and my young and naivety, mixed together. It was just not a good mix. So she was on Facebook, in these groups looking for sperm donors, and she came across a few people, and she was showing me them, and I was like, nah. And eventually, she was basically like, "You gonna either get on the train or get left at the station." And she found this one guy. She's like, "I'm setting up a time with him to go to a hotel room, and we're gonna do it naturally if you don't get on board." And I was like, "She." Now that I'm older and I know her enough to be like, she's bluffing, or if she's not bluffing, go ahead and let her do it. And when y'all go to get the divorce, it's basically say like you had nothing to do with that. Now that I'm older and I know better. But back then I was like, no, I gotta like keep my woman and I gotta like my wife. So I was like, no, no, don't do that. Like, I don't want you to do that. So let's find another donor. I'll be more involved in the progress. And she found this one guy, and she had him set like his my charts just to make sure he had no STDs or anything. She did like a background check on him, whatever. Like, that's the only thing I will say is that she did her due diligence, but shouldn't have been happening anyway. But she invited him over to our house, which is also like, it's a good thing this dude was actually like really cool, but you just never know. He had like a good maybe 2 week conversation with this dude, maybe talked to him over the phone a few times, but not enough to really know a person. And we didn't even meet up with him in public first before we invited him to our house. So Like just to show you the amount of like crap that she put me through.
Y'all was just
So
rushing, just literally just rushing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I tried to slow it down and make her realize like, look, like we have so much time, like before we can really do this the right way. And she just wasn't having that. I feel like she felt like her biological clock was ticking because she thought she had endometriosis, but she didn't. And so, because that could mess with your fertility. But I'm like, you don't even know if you have that. Um, like, let's really just take our time. But yeah, she invited the dude to our house. He did his thing. We did the insemination through like a Diva cup, and
A
I was
diva
hoping,
cup?
sh yeah. So to the lesbians out there, Diva cup, I guess when you're fucking ready, though. Like,
When you're ready.
yeah. So I was like, granted, I love my kid. I'm blessed to have her in my life, but at the time, I was like, I'm really hoping this doesn't work. But it did, and she was pregnant. Like we found out like what 4 weeks later, you know. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. What a story, Braylon. What
bro,
a story. Yo.
yeah. You would
Yo.
probably never guess that just looking at me, but yeah, just
I'm I'm glad that you're still in the child's life though.
yeah,
I've had a few guests on the platform just recently, and they were just like talking about like how like when we're in relationships and queer relationships, when we have a kid, a lot of times it gets taken away from us if it's not biologically ours. So I'm glad that um, your
yeah,
ex-wife is. You guys have like a
yeah,
custody thing situation going
yeah.
on. Or,
It was not as cordial in the beginning of the split up, but as time progressed, like we become more cordial and anything that has to revolve around my kid, I'm Johnny on the spot, she's Johnny on the spot, and we try to work it out. I see my kid. We have it to where it's like 3.5 days per person. So I have her 3.5 days out of the week, and so does she, and I see her every week. So
good. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad. And I hope it stays that way when you guys both get partners
exactly. Yeah, I know.
um, and all the transition. I know it's still early, but it's
Yeah, I
it's
know.
another little child, little human you gotta think about now. So
Yeah, I know.
it,
So
you're that's why, man, it makes so much sense. Like the money, not being able to go out, like
yeah,
it is when there's a whole child involved. It
and that's another
does.
thing that I told her is like you're really messed up and mad that we can't go out. When we have a kid, it's not gonna get any better.
Yeah,
So I'm like, that's honestly what made it worse. And you know, I just feel like because I'm not super duper religious, but I have some faith in God. Like I feel like things just happen for a reason. We were meant to be together to bring this child into this life, and now we're no longer together. Our purpose for being together has served its purpose, and I just think that that's all that it was. Like we were supposed to bring a person into this life, and that's it. You know.
did you guys sign like paperwork with the sperm donor that says like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, we definitely did, and he does this like all the time. Like he has like multiple babies, so or he's donated his sperm multiple times and has had successes, and he's shown his successes with us. So it's like, yeah,
and he
he
just
doesn't want any
charges.
involvement.
He charges like you
Yeah,
guys. Okay.
yeah, he charged like it was like $50. Like it wasn't expensive at all. So yeah, but he doesn't want any involvement. So
Hmm. He's
that
is
was it.
I have to ask like your specifics from are they were they doing it just to like help queer couples because $50 just to go out here and not have any involvement like what
Yeah,
was
so he was doing it for queer couples, for straight couples that like the man couldn't produce or not
okay
produce.
so
He
he's
was
literally just out
infertile.
here trying to
Yeah,
do
a
a good
good thing.
cause
Yeah,
okay
he was a legit like good person. Like we really lucked up with getting someone that's healthy for his. He was like 30 at the time, so he was healthy. he was a genuinely good person. I think my ex still talks to him every now and again, but he's not like popping up like, "Where's my kid?" Like, no, like he's a genuinely good person. So,
Huh. So,
but we just
yeah,
got lucky, but that doesn't always
yeah,
happen.
right. You got the good furniture and the sperm off of marketplace.
Exactly.
Man, that's awesome though. How is it being a parent though? Like how's that been for you?
It's it's a lot. I feel like I was already pretty mature for my age, but she made me more mature. It teaches me a lot of patience,
Mm,
um, how to, maintain a schedule, knowing the days that I have her, knowing the things that I have to get done when I know that she's going to be here with me, and still getting that stuff done, or if I have to reschedule some things, it's a lot, but at the same time, I wouldn't have it any other way. Uh,
yeah,
I know there's a lot of times where I'm like, if she wasn't here, I would have more money in the bank, but it's like, I don't care for it. At the same time, I see my beautiful daughter, I'm like, that's my kid, and I'm blessed to have her. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Did you sign like adoption, like the birth certificate, adoption pay, like officially adopt?
yeah,
Okay, that's how
yeah.
what the process you guys did.
So I don't know. We're in Texas. I don't know if signing the birth certificate is enough, but I think it may be. I just have to do my research on that. But my name is on the birth certificate.
Okay.
So
So is that the only thing that you did was just your name on the birth
yeah,
certificate? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So when we get the divorce, I don't know if they're gonna be like, hey, you may have to go further with this, but I haven't heard because at the hospital, which I don't know, they may not know because they're just a hospital, not like a law firm.
Hmm.
But at the time, I looked like a woman, even though I was on testosterone. So they were like, they didn't like question, hey, you may have to go to the courts to get adoption
Okay.
papers. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Cool. Uh, yeah. Hopefully, like that goes smoothly. You know,
I
divorce
know.
can get messy, separation can get
Yeah,
messy. So hopefully
I
that's not
know.
the case for you. And I see on your social media now you've
Mhm.
learned a lesson from this. You're budgeting. You're doing some budgeting,
Yeah,
making sure your funds are
yeah,
going to the right spot now.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I've always been financially conscious since my first job when I was 14. Like my mom, she's heavy into Dave Ramsey and stuff like that. He's like a financial guru on YouTube. So, you know,
I know Dave Ramsey. Yep, he tells you
yeah, all
how to
the
get
good
them credit
financial
card
stuff.
debts. Yep.
Yeah. So ever since I was like a teenager, my mom has been very like honing in on the financial side of that. So that's like I've always been financially conscious, but I never really talked about it on the internet.
Hmm.
I think I don't know what sparked me to want to talk about finances and do like I was mostly like a fitness content person, and then I like converted to finance. So, but I've always been financially conscious. It's just my recent history makes it look like, oh, this dude don't know how to manage money. It's like, no, I was just with the wrong person.
I didn't really put myself on like actually I'm gonna be honest, like I haven't actually like wrote it out yet. I keep saying I need to
Mhm.
like write this is for this is for that. Like it's mentally
Yeah,
in there. But I do have like a notebook diary thing specifically for that to like
yeah,
write out financials and
all
stuff like
your
that too.
bills.
Hmm. Because me and my partner, like we've been talking about doing it just because we're talking about getting more serious and talking about getting
Yeah,
rings and all that stuff. So it's like, okay,
mm,
let's talk about this. And like we've talked about just like we recently literally last weekend had a conversation just like with her brother and his wife, just like how finances are a number one reason why people break up, and they were just like
yeah,
talking to us and like helping us like what we could do to like help better manage that and things to like that help them out. So uh, it is very important to talk about finances and all that stuff. People say um, it can be
yeah.
difficult and they just like avoid it, but it's like you can't
You
avoid that one.
can.
You can't
If
avoid
you
that one.
avoid it for long enough, then your relationship is not going to last. You
Yeah.
know, you gotta have
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, we just got a joint account. So it's like we're taking steps forward. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, finding that support system and that balance is definitely needed. And you mentioned like your mom, your parents have always like helped guided you that way. I know you said you mentioned there was a little point in time where you weren't talking to your mom.
hmm
Is this because of your identity, or is this because of something else? Or
It was the main like my mom. She's not like always the best person to be around. Like she nowadays our relationship has gotten better, but back then she was very controlling. And I don't know if this is like a black thing or it could be anybody, but it's hard when your kids are growing up, obviously, and you have to kind of look at them as adults now. They're not children. So I kind of had to set that boundary as well. And she didn't really think that the marriage thing was the right way to go. So she wasn't really fond of that as well. But at the same time, that at the time was my wife. You're gonna respect my wife, you know? So I kind of was like, look, you can't respect my wife, then we gotta kind of like take a break. And that along with I guess her not really catching on like, hey, I'm an adult now, like that's why we were kind of like we're gonna have to cut it. Or at least I cut it.
yeah,
So
so it had nothing to do like with your identity wise, like you being
yeah,
clear.
because at that point I wasn't even out as trans. I was just, just gay. So she was already at that point used to that.
Okay.
So she just didn't
Uh,
like the person I was with. Dang. She was right though. I'm not gonna lie.
then parents, they my mom, any partner that my mom has said something, I was the same way with you, brother. Like, like you're with this person, you don't say that. Like, this
Yeah,
this is my partner. Like, this is us. And then when you
yeah,
leave, you're like, okay, okay.
yeah,
You just have to see it for yourself, though. Like
exactly.
you're an adult. You have to go through those situations to realize that, and that's just what you did.
Yeah.
Um, how have they been? Your mom specifically been now that you're not in the
With the
relationship
transition.
anymore and the transition and all of that.
Mm. So they basically with the relationship, they both were like, I'm glad that you came to your senses. They were both basically like, I'm glad that you've come to God, basically come to Jesus, had a Jesus moment. It was just like, yeah, like that relationship is no good for me, and you're now growing and progressing. And then when it came to the transition, back then when I came out, I think I came out to them 4 months after I was already on testosterone, before all the major changes started to happen. So, um, my dad, he wasn't like anything bad because he's like, I already kind of sensed it when you were younger. Um, because when I came out to him when I was like gay, or just saying that I was gay, he was like, "Oh, so are you like a drag queen?" And I remember to this day, like I was bawling my eyes out on the couch, and he was just like, "So you just like a drag queen?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, like you think you're a man or something." I was like, "That's transgender." And I was like, "No, I just like women." But we were joking about that years later when I was coming out to him as trans, and he was like, "Yeah." So he said it again, and I was like, "No, Dad, I'm not a drag." I'm like,
Oh my
I, I was like, "No, I'm a trans man, or like I identify as a man, whatever you want to call it." And he was like, "Hey, I kind of sensed it. It's gonna take me time to get used to it, so bear with me, but you know, I love you, and that's that."
good.
Um, but with my mom, I'm her at the time was her only daughter. So it was harder for her she tried to like be fake and save face in the moment because I was in Texas when I came out to them, and they're all the way up in Ohio, so I had to do it over the phone. And she was trying to save face and make it seem like she was okay with it over the phone. But then when I would bring up like small my milestones in my transition, like, oh, I'm not getting my cycle anymore. He would kind of, and I feel like going back, I could probably like dial it back, like, dude, you didn't have to fucking say that, but like just small milestones.
That you were proud of. You wanted to
Yeah,
share. Yeah.
she was kind of like getting queasy or uncomfortable with it, and he another thing with me, like I don't force pronouns. I don't at the especially in the beginning when I looked like a woman. I told people all the time, like, look, this is my identity, but I understand if you slip up and you say she, her. I get it, and I told my parents, like, you can call me by my birth name if you feel like you're not fully comfortable. Call me Brailin. I understand it's gonna take long for y'all to get used to, but a year went by, 2 years went by, and she's still like could not call me by Braylon. She's still purposely, not like how my dad was accidentally messing up and saying she, her, she would purposely call me she, her. And instead of like, oh, you're going to call me he, and like, no, I was like, okay, like, I'm just not going to talk to you as much and you're just going to get cut off again.
Yeah.
So it was like a slow cutoff though. It wasn't like, oh, 'cause it's just I was trying to give her chances to
Hmm.
try to like fix her behavior because I could tell it was a difference because my dad was like immediately like, oh, Braylon. Yeah, he would slip up and call me by my birth name, but it was I could tell the difference. But
Yeah.
with my mom, she was like, no, birth name, she, her. And it's just like after a year, I was I was still kind of like, it's been a year, like you should probably be using or trying a little harder to try to use my pronouns and my name. And in 2 years, I was like, yeah, yeah, you gonna have to get cut off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
but
how
now
is it like now? Right now?
now she's fully on board now. So it just
Good.
took a little bit longer, but yeah,
Well, that's good. I'm glad you did what you needed to do to
yeah,
save like your mental, your peace of mind because like
yeah,
that's hard to cut off a parent,
yeah,
but I'm glad your
and your
dad
mother,
was yeah, was
yeah.
full on board. He's like, I got a son.
Yeah,
did,
he
did
like
you
called me a month later, and it was like, "Hey, I need time to process this, but now that I've really processed it, you're my son now. Like, I need to give you like the talk, like the man to man talk." So, he was like, "This is what you need to do to provide, be there for your wife and such and such." So my dad, that's my best friend.
Yeah, I
So
love that. I love that for you.
yeah,
That's good. That's important for parents to understand like it's unconditional love. So I'm glad your
yeah.
mother got on board too. With being away from your family, what support system do you have in where you are?
Now that I'm not with my wife, I do have a friend that I actually met through TikTok. And he's also a trans man. So I have him to talk to if anything that revolves around transness, like he can relate. So I have him. I have another friend that is bisexual that I talk to every now and again. Like that's pretty much it. And then every now and again, I have people that DM me on TikTok that want to ask questions, or because I'm so further along in my transition, they may be early on. So that's kind of like my support system right now.
Do you so and then like you're going to like the clubs to like gain
Hmm.
more, get more social and whatnot like
Yeah,
that. That's good.
yeah,
That's good that you're like staying in Texas too and finding community. I think
yeah,
a lot of people it would just have been easier to just pack up and go back to Ohio, what just after losing your partner
yeah.
and separating. So
My
that's
parents
good.
did give me that option, but I was like, no. If I didn't have my kid, I probably would have considered it. But it was like, no, I'm not leaving my kid.
Yeah.
So
That's good. So with your day to day life, well, I know like you're on TikTok, you're working out. What do you see next for Braylon?
honestly, 'cause I just got my new job, so I'm just trying to continue to build on that because it's actually like my very first job where I feel like I can build a career. So from there, I'm just trying to build like my money back up, um, put money aside for my kids so that way if she wants to go to college or anything she wants to do, even if it's not college, that's kind of where I see myself, just kind of building. And, if I come across someone that wants to build with me, then that's like my next steps right now. So just continue moving forward.
Love that. Uh, what is there anything like that we didn't touch on in your story? Like, man, I really wanted to share that today.
I would say for the trans community out there, like specifically for trans men, because I am a trans man, don't get too caught up in the beginning of how you look. I look busted.
Not
Like,
busted.
like busted. I lost weight and everything. So it's like, don't get caught up on how you look in the beginning. If you put the work in and you accept what can't be changed in the moment, your transition will go as smoothly as possible. Don't get caught up on the pronouns. I know it's hard, but don't get caught up on the pronouns as well, as people calling you the way that you want to be called. You're going to come across people that, you know, if you don't even share that bit of yourself, they're going to see it like naturally as you're going through your transition, and they're going to respect you more because you didn't like force it upon them. Like that's been my experience. Like me not forcing my identity onto people, I've gained more genuine love, you know. So just be you, grow naturally, and be patient. You know, everything's gonna come to you in time.
Yeah. I think when you say like don't force it, I think it also is a protection for you as well. Like we mentioned
Yeah,
earlier, just embracing who you are and not having to essentially out yourself
yeah,
when it's not needed. Allow that
yeah,
person to generally care for you as a human, and then like if you feel comfortable enough, then expressing that. But it's definitely not needed.
yeah,
Um, Thank you so much, Braylon.
yeah,
This has been a good conversation. So much we've talked about here, and I just want to thank you for being a guest here on Queen Talk.
yeah.
I
Thank you for
hope,
having me.
yeah, I hope if you're listening to this, if you've learned anything, I think the top things are be yourself and don't let others push you into something that you're not ready for, whether that is
Yes.
having a kid or even just like outing yourself, I think. And don't be scared to move to a whole different state and
Uh,
figure it out. I think that's very courageous. People like to just stay in one place of what they know to be home and never branch out. But you leaving to find community is truly important too. And I hope that your
mhm.
community grows and you're able to find that in Texas for you now that you're out here clubbing
Yeah.
these days
Yeah.
and able to do that.
Yeah.
But um, Braylon, do you have any advice for? I know you mentioned just like for the trans men specifically, but do you have any other advice for anybody that's watching or listening to this Queen Talk session today?
Manage your money. That's another thing. Like, especially in this economy, I've been doing life by myself now, honestly, since I moved out since 2019. And because I mean, my wife never really held down a job, so it's doable to live on one income if you know how to manage your money. Always live within your means. When you start to make good money, don't let that lifestyle creep, you know, take a hold of you and you start to spend more than what your income is capable of. So live within your means, manage your money, make a budget. That's what I preach on my TikTok all the time. Budget, budget, budget. So that's where you'll find success is managing your money.
Yeah, I think that is very important. We don't always get taught financial literacy, even in schools. We
Yeah.
don't get taught that financial
No.
literacy and how to manage money and create the budgets and put away savings, start a Roth account, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like no, you don't get taught that in school. At least in the
At
public school
all.
system where I went, I did not get taught.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is very important for you to do is create that
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you again, Brailin, for being a
Hmm.
guest. You guys make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button. Let us know what you think of this episode. I'm really curious. Yeah, and if you're in Houston, Texas, let Braylon know so that y'all can link up. You guys make sure to check out queentalk.com if you guys would like some merch, on the website. Check out all the other amazing episodes. And yeah, as always, family, friends, strangers, love and be nice.